Yo, what's good? Good morning, beautiful people. It's your girl, Tamika Denise, aka Yo Auntie, the neighborhood auntie. And we are live today, and we're talking about the chosen family. The title of this episode is Chosen Family Isn't Just a Buzzword. I know that we use this word in today's society interchangeable with bullshit for the most part, you feel me? We're going to talk about queer kinship, boundary work, and what lasting commitment can look within these types of dynamics. I'm going to get into some history and things like that, but welcome back to Yo Auntie Fix My Life. In the last episode, we did discuss polyamory, monogamy, and everything else in between. If you haven't watched that episode, feel free to go onto youtube.com/YoAuntie for the recap. That's where you get all of your recaps. If you're not a subscriber here on twitch.tv/Tamika Denise, here we have the whole entire vibe. We got the music playing for y'all in the background. Let me just make sure that that's up for y'all. Yeah. It's a vibe, you know. You're currently listening to Jesse Reyes for sure. But let's just kick this thing. I can see the chat, I can see y'all. If you guys have anything, any questions, any input, I think the chat right now is actually sub only. We're just gonna fix that and make it for everybody. Everybody can do it. But yeah, in this episode, we are definitely going to talk about queer communities in general. Because let's be honest, white gay men have owned and operated their spaces since their fathers started oppressing everybody and their mama. You feel me? Like, I don't know, like, when that shit started, but it's been happening. My partner was reading a book, it was called Queer Magic, and it went over the complexity of sexuality within the queer dynamics. And one thing I got from that is that white men have definitely been using their power way before any of us have. So, truth be told, let me get my notes here. Alright, truth be told, the black woman has always been king, has always been queen. I think overall, like, the white man could definitely notice this, especially as far as, you know, the gay and lesbian community goes. I'm going to talk about some of my experiences in queer community and how I'm viewing the world as a queer person in my early 20s. If you guys have any experience, I just opened up the chat to everyone, not just subscribers. So feel free to speak your truth, speak your piece. I just remember one of the predominant neighborhoods here in Northern California is the Castro. So we all know it, we all love it, we all want to visit it. I feel as a young queer person growing up in the early 2000s, you're like, I'm gay, I'm free, where the fuck is my nearest community, right? So you find out that San Francisco is right over the freaking bridge. You can just go over and be queer. But what you're expecting along the way is not definitely what you're expecting along the way. When I am 18 years old, I'm not thinking about segregation. I'm not thinking about race. I'm just thinking about partying like it's 1999 with my family that I'm trying to create, right? With my chosen family. When I go into those queer spaces, all I see is beauty. You know, all I see is the femme butch. The femme butch could either be me or it could be him over there. Or they, as of today. You know, it could be him or me. Like, the butch queen, is it me or is it them? Who knows? But let me tell you something. We got our style from somewhere, right? Now, I told you earlier in episodes, I hung out with a lot of gay boys, pretty gay boys at that, so naturally I became one, joining their houses, competing in the ballroom, the face card, undeniable. Y'all know how we do. If you don't, I understand. I'm having a hard time finding the ballroom scene in my 30s. Like, where is it? Where has it gone? I just remember growing up, 18-year-old, newly out of high school. My first Pride was with a group. We didn't have LGBTQ group in my high school. We had therapy. It was run by gay boys. They took us to Pride. I'm 17-year-old at Prides, just watching grown-ass men just dangle and everything. Women as well. Titties just flapping in the wind. Balls just orbiting wherever they need. I remember those days of going to the Castro or going to Pride. I think it's still the same. I don't know. I haven't been to a real Pride parade in a very long time. But I believe San Francisco just has an ordinance for that. They have like Leather Day. They have the Folsom Street Fair. If you know, you know. They have those different types of communities as well. But as a young person, you're just trying to get out there. You're just trying to find your tribe, right? So you're not expecting all the bells and whistles that go for it. But these are just my experience in a place where queer women were non-existent. Outside of Pride, if you go to the Castro, all you see is white men everywhere. You barely see a touch or a hint of black, indigenous people of color, like celebrating their truths in the Castro. To be completely honest, some of those bars are strictly for the boys, and what I mean by boys is white boys. You get the glares, you get the looks, all the while in leather chaps. You're still going to feel the heat of some of those early days. Now, the reason why we started these communities is because we're already outcast by our families. We're already told that we're living in sin in Sodom, Gomorrah, especially if we're coming from a Christian background, right? Some of our parents are still like that today. Some of our parents aren't. So where do you go to build community, right? While doing some research, I found out there are a lot more communities out there. Not just for the Castro, right? You got other places in Seattle. You got, like, if you go to Seattle too, their gay scene is definitely all gay men, gay white men. I've definitely been there recently, and it was fun. We kikiing with the girls, but it's not for me. It's not for me. Now, going back to San Francisco, right? Like, you go to their famous clubs, you realize that you look around, it's not for me. Me, on the other hand, I'm not really looking around. I'm there, I'm queer, and I'm free. I'm just like a kid in a candy store. I'm just out here with the boys, dancing. Go to North Carolina, the same. I go to North Carolina, I sneak off to Greenville. Don't tell the military that. But at the time, it was don't ask, don't tell. So I served during the time where it was just, hey, keep that shit inside the closet. Okay, so don't ask me where the fuck I'm going, because I'm about to not be here. I'm going away. I would go travel to Charlotte. If I wanted a black scene, I go to Charlotte. If I just needed something quick and easy to get to, I'm going to Greenville, which is like a college town, which again is predominantly white kids. Going back to San Francisco. San Francisco doesn't have a big lesbian scene at this time. There aren't that many bars. There aren't that many bars in the world in general. So, we get Jolene's. Jolene. And that's an experience within ourselves. I don't necessarily have these types of experiences when I've gone to Jolene's. I've only been like one time, twice, maybe. And it's during Pride, so it's crowded. It's not a normal day. Like, I don't know what the Patreons are getting there. I'm not sure how the staff is being treated there, but there has been no... Sorry, Jolene. You're gonna be your first woman's bar in frickin' San Francisco, but you acted like not everybody is wanted. Fine, we'll leave you there across the motherfucking bridge, and if that motherfucker goes under the water, we're just gonna let you drown. That's how, unfortunately, BIPOCs act in the Bay. Now, if you want black, indigenous, people of color community, it's a flavor for everyone. We're going to cross the bridge to Oakland now. This is where the people of color party. Everybody is going to a So Lovely party on a Sunday at that, and it's a day party. So you know what that means. At first, it was for the grounded sexy. Now we got everybody from age 25 and up there, which is fine. It's an intermingling of crowds, but back in the day, So Lovely used to be grown and sexy, to be completely honest, because they playing R&B, they playing soul, they playing reggaeton. It's all the vibes, the music. It's not just Beyonce. It's not just Christina Aguilera. It's not the mothers of the scene, you know, because even Jolene is taking that white culture, that white gay culture, and like transforming it to their own. I don't know, but it's whack. So those are my gay experiences, trying to find community. But when I'm 18 years old, I'm not really running up and down, because there is a club for us 18 and overs. It was called The Crib. And honestly, that's where all of us black folks met. And it was off of 3rd Street. It was underneath the bridge. We could park at the bridge. I want to say it's where the AT&T field is now. So back in the day, I'm not going to even lie, it's near the stadium. It's not where the stadium is now, because the stadium was there. I'm showing my age. I remember going to Candlestick. So Candlestick, that came 3Com Park, that came AT&T Park, Pacific Bell Park. I don't even know what the giant stadium is called right now. Keep changing the damn owners. But this is how we start choosing our family in these settings, right? So going back to that 3rd Street, The Crib, mind you, we was getting babysitted by adults. Adults are babysitting adults. Underage drinking is happening, of course. I don't know how we got. I know how I got my alcohol. I mean, they try to prevent it as much as possible. But going into that scene and then hanging out with the black queer boys, or yeah, I would say queer at the time, because they're dating like gay men, they're dating trans women. So there's a lot of intermingling. I would say that I'm hanging around with gay queer boys. They probably wouldn't call themselves that. They probably call themselves like Butch Queen or something like that. Hanging around with these beautiful men. And then like we tend to head back over the bridge. So everything ballroom related is happening over the bridge. You can't forget Booty that's happening in Oakland. Like all the clubs, all the black clubs or BIPOC clubs are happening in Oakland, throughout that side of the bay. Fun times. Ballrooms were not held in the clubs for the most part. They were hosted in little social clubs. At the time, I didn't realize that we were segregated, but at the end of the day, we were segregated. What ends up happening too is that in order for us to keep ships in the night, used to be a BIPOC party. Now it's not, right? So we have these types of communities where we want to keep them BIPOC. So we start upcharging anybody else. So white males, because these are sliding scales, paying like $5 at the door sometimes, depending on what your income is. Hopefully you're honest, right? But at the time I was paying $5 at the door, or $10, $20, whatever I'm able to give. And then for the white queers too, y'all are getting charged a specific amount, because the goal of those spaces, So Lovely for example, was to keep the space BIPOC, to keep the space affordable, to keep the space from getting overran and bombarded, and to let it be known this is a BIPOC space. Of course it's gonna be a BIPOC space, you feel me? Define your chosen family. I think for all of us, like, we define that depending on our mood sometimes, you know? Like, somebody could be our brother, our sister, our auntie, our mother, our father, you know? Like, but in all actuality, we are not being clear, concise in our communication in general, which creates different types of boundaries and family structures, even within our own, right? Where we're sharing our experience with these people from a probably a toxic, like, upbringing, right? The reason why we left home, some of us, this is not my experience, but I've met people along the way who have left home because their parents can't accept them. They're getting called names that are not a true reflection of who they are. They're being misused, mistreated, whatever the case may be. Some people come over into these communities too, and they are getting manipulated into certain things, whether it be sex work, whether it be them going out in the world making the money and then having to bring it back to their mother and father. Just beware, because everybody is not for your highest good, right? I have not watched Pose. I think that is a starting point if you want to get to know what kinds of houses there were. Now, I'm going to say a brief description of the creation of chosen families, and then I'm going to do one as far as why they started the drag balls and the houses and things like that in the first place. The creation of chosen family. Many queers and trans people of color were rejected or ostracized by their biological families, leading to homelessness and isolation. Ballroom houses provided a crucial lifeline, functioning as an alternative family structure led by a mother or a father who offered mentorship, emotional support, and a sense of belonging. This chosen family network provided community and shelter for many who had nowhere else to go. The ballroom houses were created by and for BIPOC, which is Black, Indigenous, People of Color, individuals to form chosen families, escape discrimination, and create safe spaces for self-expression. They emerge as a direct response to the racism and exclusion that queer people of color face both in mainstream society and within predominantly white LGBTQ spaces of the time. Still to this day, it's not just of that time, it's of this time as well, where we're still segregated, we're still getting the evil eyes. You know, we got fucking gay Republicans right now. Let's not talk about them, but let's talk about them. What? A reaction to racism in drag balls. So, like, I didn't realize that. I thought the balls were created by us, to be honest, but the balls were created by white men as well. Early drag balls in the mid-20th century were often segregated, or if integrated, Black and Latino contestants were frequently judged unfairly and denied prizes by white judges. A pivotal moment occurred in 1967 when Castro, LaBeija, a Black trans woman who was mistreated at the Miss All-American Can't Beauty contest. This led her to found the House of LaBeija in the early 1970s, which is often credited as the first ballroom house. This act of resistance sparked a movement for Black and Latino queer people to create their own balls and houses, leading to the rise of modern ball culture. That's still a thing. Okay, so back in the day, I think it's still up. You go to downlink.com, so DOWNE link.com, downlink, which is also abbreviation of DL. So Downlink was this website that we used to get on as well to find partners, find friends. It was the underground, it was the MySpace of gay LGBTQ, right? But even on there was a house culture. There was a stud house, like fraternities, sororities that people had created because they couldn't join a traditional frat, right? Or they couldn't join a traditional sorority because they were gay, right? Because those are, ran by the patriarchal system as well. I don't know that many gay men who are Omega, got the dog in them, I don't know, I have some frat friends, I never heard them be like, yeah, there's some gay dudes in there. It's not the case whatsoever. I think for our community, we're not a group of people who take no for an answer, right? We're going to redefine it, we're going to create it, we're going to tweak it, we're going to do whatever it is that we need to do in order to, blaze through your freaking doors. If we gotta burn the house down, we'll burn the house down. Yeah, tell me your thoughts in the chat if you wanna enter the chat. I also believe that, again, going back to the boundaries that I spoke about, that it's imperative that y'all have boundaries, right? Like, emotional labor is a thing. You know, financial support expectations is a thing. Codependency versus interdependency is a thing. How to communicate your boundaries without breaking the bonds. Like, that should be... In the previous episode, we talked about boundaries, so I'm not going to get into it in depth here. I am going to leave the link on the bottom. Hopefully I can find a snippet about boundaries so you're not having to watch the whole entire episode, but feel free to. Yeah, like boundaries. Boundaries are very important. You got to learn to communicate those boundaries effectively, or someone on the other end of that is going to take advantage of you in some type of way. And I really don't want that to happen again. When you're joining these houses or these types of communities, please ask questions, especially clarifying questions. Speaking to my point earlier where I was letting you know that sometimes the mother can put you in a situation where you can't get out of. If you're not already doing sex work, but you join a house and you end up doing sex work, please just reevaluate what that is and what that looks like. Was that the intention when you were moving into these spaces? Because that's probably not an expectation that you were expecting, and you went along with it. For myself, there's so much fear attached to that. Like, sexual diseases are out there. How can you protect yourself more? Is this something you really wanted to be doing? Did you move to LA for this? Probably not. Did you move to get your acting career on point? More than likely. Did you move to take writing classes? Did you move to join fashion school? LA School of Fashion. A lot of queer people from up here, we go down there and we go to the Queer School of Fashion, or we go to their schools for drama, for cinematography, for photography, for all kinds of things, because we're artsy fartsy kids. Literally, some of us can't stop farting. Anyway, you could be put in a place of harm. So again, figure out your boundaries, sustain those boundaries, and communicate in a way that is healthy. There's a way to communicate your wants and needs without breaking bonds. And if you break a bond because you express your wants and needs respectfully, then it was never for you, love. It was never for you. Lasting commitments beyond bond. I think this is one of the reasons why we get into these communities, right? Like, I was watching this documentary, or no, this conversation about Pine Grove. I'm trying to pull it up for you. It's called, I'm gonna add it to this description.
I should tune up a little bit first.
It's called Safe/Haven, a conversation about gay life since the 1950s, Cherry Grove and the Pines. So Cherry Grove and Fire Island are a not so secret hideaway off of the coast of like New York. Like, you can get to it from New York City. You could take city transportation, or you could take the ferry, apparently. But yeah, it just goes in about the history of that region particularly, right? So it starts off as a white space. They get a really bad hurricane in like the 1930s. So gay men start buying property out there and things like that. Mind you, women do not have rights. Women can't work. Women don't have freaking no checking account, no savings account. So these are just white men going over. Probably not until the 50s and 60s, right? Because that's when women's rights come, civil rights happen. So a lot of people are getting rights at this time. There is a whole generation that buys up the land, but then there's also a whole generation that dies from the AIDS epidemic. So slowly but surely, these people start moving in, taking over these spaces, especially around the 4th of July. I heard it gets a little like queer people all across the world, especially New York, go there. Now it's like it's a mixed crowd. Everybody's joining together. There's a black man in this documentary that I just mentioned, or this interview about that time. They have a historical society. They're preserving some of that history, but predominantly it was a white space. Then it slowly trickled into everyone's space, and I think the two spaces are divided. So it's not divided by so much race. At the time it was created, it was divided by class, right? You got white rich men having a certain area, and then like the working class having their own little area too, and then people just try to trickle into their own areas, their own space. But before the AIDS epidemic came through and like low-key wiped out a generation, God rest their soul, took out a whole entire generation with the AIDS epidemic. It was predominantly a white space, you know. Then the women start coming in, they start buying property, and then the black men with the money start coming in and they start buying property. So it's a slow transition into this integration that you see in that space, that secret space over there. I would like to check it out. I think it's on my list of to-dos. There's also like the gayest town in Arkansas too, but I'm not sure about that one just because there's still some sundown towns around that area that I think that town might be actually a sundown town. Yeah, not all LGBT spaces are for people of color, unfortunately. It's a matter of just creating our own space. I know there is a couple of collectives here that have bought up the land. Black and indigenous folks have bought the land. They are reinventing, like turning a camp into a community type stuff. Me and my partner have talked about it with our friends, creating those types of spaces or communities and experiences where people just feel they can come to the land, help the land, work the land, or just be an experience that we create. My partner does yoga, sound healing, and for me, I'm like a great host. We are not gonna have kids, so like of course we're gonna build community that we surround ourselves around that are like like-minded individuals. Yeah, love community for sure. Yeah, let's see what else. It's my little, yeah, I feel like our generation is not so much concentrating on the safe havens because we thought we were moving into a positive direction where this type of thing shouldn't exist because we are all integrated into society. But as we're learning now, we can't go back to 1960, we can't go back to the 1950s like real quick, you know. There are still people out there who are still protecting white supremacy, who don't want people of color to, you know, succeed, whether they be queer or straight, it doesn't matter. We're all a part of that umbrella as brown and black indigenous folks. So I don't know the roles of our current houses and the mother dynamic that we currently have in situations. I can only show you what I see in public, right? That's why I'm saying keep your boundaries, keep your boundaries. Again, Pose, Paris is Burning, a real life ballroom. Just find real life ballroom interviews, they're everywhere. The scene, what it used to be, what it is now, if there is a now. I still haven't found a paintball since I was like 18, 20 years old. Take care of your people. Take care of your people. It's imperative that we all come together. Take care of your people. Because your chosen family should be a family that you feel safe in, that you feel comfort in, that you feel like you're being supported in, and it be vice versa. It's not just a one-sided thing where the person is venting and you're just listening to all their problems. No, it has to be a two-sided road. Because only love could survive all of the hate, right? boundaries, protections, not rejection. So again, if you put in those boundaries and they are like rejecting your boundaries for whatever reason, it's not for you. Appreciate you, Janet. Appreciate you. Hey, Janet, thank you for the chat. But yeah, I want y'all to build the best community you can. It's beautiful. My rising's beautiful. We're having conversation about queer family dynamics. But I'm about to close out here, Janet. I'm so sorry. Do you have anything for us? Are you building a community right now? Do you have any insight on the ballroom community, the culture? Do you know any queer safe havens that people can go to, especially if they're seeking refuge? I know, especially for trans folks. Yeah, no problem. Thank you for the follow. I just feel like we all just need to come together. Commitment isn't always legal, so find your tribe, connect with your tribe, build with your tribe, be safe with your tribe. That is for sure. If you haven't already done so, just list all your chosen family in the chat right now. If you haven't done so, follow me here on twitch.tv/Tamika Denise for the live episodes, which includes like this background music. Once we upload, the music is gone. It's just me. If you want to rewatch this episode, you could do so on youtube.com/YO0o0 AUNTEE. Subscribe, and it's great talking to you about this subject. Choose your family wisely, and I'll see you next week.